Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. What if you could take simple, everyday footage and make it feel much more energetic and cinematic without using complicated editing techniques? In today's video, I'm going to show you how I turned ordinary clips into a rhythmic and engaging edit using sound-enabled transitions in Wondershare Filmora. Instead of simply cutting from one clip to another, I'm going to use sound, movement, music, and visual effects together to make every scene change feel more intentional. And the best part is that you can create this style with just a few simple techniques. So, let's take some ordinary footage and turn it into a much more engaging video. I'm starting with some simple clips from an ordinary day. We have a morning coffee, getting ready, heading outside, walking through the city, grabbing some food, and finally enjoying the evening. On their own, these clips are pretty simple. I could just place them one after another and use basic cuts, but the result wouldn't have much rhythm. So instead, I'm going to treat each scene change as an opportunity to create a stronger connection between the clips. For example, when the morning scene changes into getting ready, I can use a quick sound transition to make the change feel more energetic. Then, when I move from indoors to an outdoor city scene, I can use a stronger transition to make that change more noticeable. The goal isn't to add effects everywhere. The goal is to use the right transition at the right moment. This is where Filmora's sound-enabled transitions become really useful. They don't just change what we see on screen. They also add a sound cue that helps the viewer feel the scene change. When the visual movement, transition sound, and music happen at the right moment, a simple cut can suddenly feel much more powerful. So now, let's jump into Filmora, and I'll show you exactly how I created this effect. First, I've placed my clips on the timeline and selected the point where I want the scene to change. Now I'm going to open Transitions. From here, I'll go to SFX Transitions. This section contains transitions that combine visual movement with sound effects. I'm going to choose a transition that matches the movement and energy of my footage. Once I've found one that works, I'll simply drag it between the two clips on my timeline. Now let's preview it. You can immediately hear the difference. The visual transition creates movement between the clips, while the sound effect gives the cut an extra sense of impact. But there's one more thing that makes this technique even better: timing. I'm going to look at the music waveform on my timeline and find a strong beat. Then I'll adjust the transition so that the main visual change happens around that beat. When the movement and sound hit together with the music, the transition feels much more natural and satisfying. This is why I don't want to place transitions randomly. I want the transition to follow the rhythm of the video. Now let's try another way to create a sound-driven moment. Instead of adding a transition between two clips, I'm going to use a sound-enabled video effect. I'll go to Effects, then Video Effects, and select Sound Enabled. Here, Filmora provides different effects that combine visual movement with sound. I'm going to choose an effect that matches the energy of this particular clip. I'll drag it onto the video and preview the result. As you can see, the visual effect changes the look and movement of the footage, while the sound cue adds another layer of impact. This can be especially useful when I want to highlight an important moment, create a mood change, or make a particular part of the video stand out. I can also adjust the position and duration of the effect so it happens exactly when I want it to. And again, timing is very important. If the effect happens randomly, it can feel distracting. But when the visual movement and sound cue happen together with the music or action, the moment feels much more intentional. So, SFX transitions are great for connecting two scenes, while sound-enabled video effects can help emphasize a specific moment within a scene. Using both gives me more control over the rhythm and pacing of the entire edit. Now that both techniques are in place, I'm going through the timeline and refining the pacing. For faster moments, I'm keeping the clips shorter and using transitions with more energy. For calmer moments, I'm giving the footage more breathing room and using simpler transitions. I'm also paying attention to the direction of movement. If a subject is moving from left to right, I'll try to use a transition that complements that movement. This makes the next shot feel more connected instead of looking like a completely separate clip. I'm also making sure that my transition sounds don't overpower the background music. The music should still provide the overall rhythm, while the transition sound should emphasize the moment. So whenever I'm making a major cut, I'm thinking about three things. What is happening visually? Where is the music beat? And what sound should the viewer hear? When these three elements work together, even ordinary footage can feel much more polished. I can also take the edit a step further by combining these sound-enabled techniques with Filmora's AI-powered tools. For example, AI effects or AI text can add extra visual information and help make certain moments more interesting. But I'm keeping the edit focused. I don't want to add effects just because they're available. Every effect needs to support the story or improve the viewing experience. I'm also going through the timeline and removing shots that don't add anything. This is an important part of editing because a good video isn't necessarily the one with the most effects. It's the one where every shot has a purpose. And now, here's the final result. What started as a collection of simple everyday clips now feels much more rhythmic, dynamic, and intentional. The SFX transitions help connect different scenes, while the sound-enabled effects make important moments stand out. And by syncing these sounds with movement and music, the entire edit feels more connected. So if your videos feel a little flat, try experimenting with SFX transitions and sound-enabled video effects in Filmora. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.